Pokemon Black was the first Pokemon game I ever played. I remember getting it one faithful Christmas, and how much excitement my younger self had at the idea of what was to come. Now that I think about it, I wonder if I even knew about Pokemon before playing this game. My memory is bad enough that I'm actually not sure. All I know is that despite my younger self having no idea, I was getting myself into a lifetime's worth of hyperfixation. Now, why do I bring up my childhood here? Well, that's because I think it's important to consider where our roots come from in Pokemon to fully understand our feelings about it as a whole. As someone who started off playing Pokemon Black, I am, of course, going to have some nostalgia wrapped into this video, which might make it a little bit biased. However, in this case, I'm not so sure that that's a bad thing, since that is part of what I think makes Pokemon so special to so many people. Nostalgia. Pokemon Black and White start off as most other games do. Though the formula is a little different, the results are more or less the same. You go off on an adventure to become a Pokemon master. So, what's different? Why were Pokemon Black and White so special? Well, I think it has a lot to do with the art style, the characters, and the story. Let me explain. Generation 5 was the last generation before Pokemon started to lean into 3D art. The pixel art in the games is absolutely beautiful and phenomenal, with some of the best and most impressive shots known to Pokemon existing within them to this day. For example, the infamous bridge, and they weren't just doing the art to get the game out, they were pouring their hearts and souls into it, which cannot be said for the newer Pokemon games, where the first fucking shot you see goes by in literal frames. Like, I know everything goes by in frames, but I should not be able to count them. The second you open Pokemon Black and White, you are blasted with beautiful art showing you a preview of what the game is going to entail. And oh boy, when I say my young brain wasn't ready for this, I mean it. What makes Pokemon Black and White so special is the fact that it's different. Now, I know that there could be an argument made that a lot of the games were different and had different ideals and themes. However, I'd argue that it wasn't the same type of different. What Pokemon Black and White did was they brought forth a question that would be impossible to be asked today, as the Pokemon Company doesn't want anyone looking at their games and thinking, is this morally wrong? But a big part of Pokemon Black and White was asking if having and using Pokemon was humane or not. Pokemon are living beings, ones with thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Yet we are sitting here and catching them and forcing them to do battle for us? Is that really okay to be doing? Is that something that should be questioned? You know, to this day, I'm still shocked that Pokemon had the balls to bring up a topic such as this, because it runs the risk of sullying the name of their game and franchise. Yet, they did it all the same, and people loved it. Why did they love it so much? Well, it really comes down to the fact that people love it when ideals are questioned and truths are uncovered or disproven. People love conflict, because conflict is a part of what it means to be human. So many people with different truths and different ideals. There's those words again. Truths and ideals. Why repeat them? Well, if you are someone who has played the games, you may know what I'm starting to probe at here. One of the themes of the games is the battle between truths and ideals. Is one of them correct? Is one of them wrong? What side persists in the end? That is where the beauty of the game begins to shine through. Now, I want to back up a little bit here because a very important factor on how beautifully done these games are is the characters you meet throughout, and how thought through and beautiful their stories really are. Now, I'm only going to be going through a few of them in this video because there are so many good characters with so many good things written about them that we would just be here all day. Now, unlike a lot of other Pokemon games, we start off in our house with the starter Pokemon already in front of us. We are immediately introduced to two of our rivals throughout the game. Oh my god, please forgive me if I pronounce these wrong. Sharon, a more serious character who takes things rather literally and puts a lot of pride and emphasis on the importance of strength. Before our second rival shows herself, a young girl named Bianca, who arrives to the scene late as an early signifier of what kind of character she is, seemingly more aloof and still trying to figure out who she is. Something that I really enjoy about these characters is the motif of realizing that there's more to being a trainer, and even to life, than just strength. With Bianca having to come with the terms that maybe being a normal trainer isn't her calling, but there are other uses in life. Along with Sharon, who spends the story having issues discovering that there is more to being a Pokemon trainer than just being strong. It's actually a rather beautiful triad between you three characters. Bianca, a weaker trainer who learns that she fits better in another category of life. Sharon, a stronger opponent who has a hard time realizing that there's more to being a trainer than simply having power. And you, a trainer who canonically in the story has a natural ability for Pokemon battling. Yet, you spend the entirety of the game questioning your morals, and if what you are doing is truly right. Pokemon Black and White are truly different from other games because, as mentioned earlier in this video, it's a question of morals. What is right? What is wrong? Not only does this game cause you to question whether or not it's okay to be capturing Pokemon and using them for battle, it's one of the earliest encounters you get in the game. In fact, as soon as you step out of your town and head to the next, you're soon met face to face with the opposing team of these games, Team Rocket. Not only are they put into your mind extremely early on, they actually start out as a rally, just speaking against how keeping Pokemon imprisoned and forcing them to battle against their will is wrong and hurts the Pokemon. Team Rocket wants to free and liberate Pokemon from their trainers. And this is one of the first things you experience in this game, so it sticks with you. Not only that, but you actually meet your third and final rival after this speech, a character that is interesting, yet odd. He immediately begins by saying that he can hear Pokemon, and asks to hear what your Pokemon have to say about you before challenging you to a battle. And this is when you learn that this character has the ability to communicate with Pokemon. This character is N, a trainer that, although you may not realize it yet in the game, is an extremely important character for the remainder of the game. Now, I'm actually not going to go too deep into the game itself, but there will still be some pretty big spoilers here, so just keep that in mind moving forward. As you continue your journey throughout the game, you begin to realize that although the question of whether or not it is humane to hold Pokemon and force them to battle for you is an extremely compelling argument, Team Rocket actually doesn't really care about that. They are much more interested in the idea of stealing Pokemon from their trainers and brainwashing people into believing their fake ideals. We also learn that N, the person that we fought so early on, is actually in alliance with Team Rocket. A cool detail about N is that every time you fight him, he actually has different Pokemon caught in the area around where you're fighting him at, which implies that he's been releasing these Pokemon as well. An interesting thing I actually do want to bring up about N is the fact that he is sadly a victim in all of this. Now, does being a victim immediately erase all blame and consequence? Well, no. But I've realized that humans tend to have this sort of empathy towards each other. Even if someone has done something really bad, we tend to soften up a little bit when we hear why it was done, or what led up to it. Now, this is a lot easier to do in fiction than in real life because, well, there are some clear differences there, but still. I've always felt bad for N. Even as a child, when I didn't truly understand everything I was consuming. There was just something that felt so tragic and off about it. I think I've figured out why, though. N is a character with a good heart. Although the things he did weren't necessarily good, they weren't ever done in a malicious manner. This could just be me interpreting things wrong, but I really believe that N has been brainwashed and honestly groomed almost his entire life. Not only was he kept in a room by himself, but he was also told how horrible humans are and that they were actively treating Pokemon as shittily as possible. Now, I might be bringing a little bit of the anime into this, but that's okay. Not only that, but he was in this room by himself his entire life. I remember walking into this room in my last playthrough and going, oh no. Like, he literally still has toys from when he was a kid. I don't know if they were from when he was a kid, but they have been provided for him as a way to shut him up, as a way to keep him in this room that have been seemingly played with often and recently, meaning that he's been in this room by himself, playing with these toys by himself for who knows how long. He's being treated as a child, as if he were still a young child. This man is 20 years old and is being treated as if he cannot make his own decisions, and has been fed misinformation and kept away from the real world his entire life, whilst being fed the idea that he is the only one who can liberate and save Pokemon from humanity. This in itself is something that I never picked up when I was younger, but became increasingly shocked and disgusted by as I was replaying the game in more recent years. It made me appreciate N more as a character than I already had, and honestly solidified these games as some of my favorite, if not my favorite, in the franchise. By the end of the game, N has become one of the main antagonists of the game, becoming the chosen hero of one of the legendary dragons, depending on which game you're playing. You, being the other chosen, take on the duty of having the other dragon's power to protect your truths or your ideals. This whole game you have been fighting with the idea that keeping Pokemon and having them battle is wrong and bad. But the truth of the matter is that you love your Pokemon, and that your Pokemon love you as well. You would have never been able to get this far without them, and they mean the world to you. Now, that doesn't mean that having Pokemon is good or having Pokemon is bad. It can depend person by person. Some people are good, some people are evil. Some people have good intentions, but do evil things, and vice versa. Not everything is black and white. And that is what I love so much about these games. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. I'm so sorry this video took so long to get out, but I had a lot of fun writing it. It's been a video that I've wanted to do for a while. It's one that maybe I'll end up redoing in the future because there's just so much to this game that it's hard to all push into a single video. Yeah, if you guys have any opinions or like different games that you like better for some reason, let me know in the comments below. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and as always, I will see you all next time.